Something that you've been saying repeatedly about President Biden. Take a listen to this.
In a recent broadcast, Doug Burgum, a prominent ally of former President Donald Trump, found himself cornered by a fact check that debunked his claims about President Biden. The incident highlights the broader strategy used by some Republicans to project their own controversial behaviors onto Democrats, thus creating confusion and manipulating public perception. Burgum, who is auditioning to be Trump's vice president, appeared on the show to discuss his views on the current administration. He repeatedly referred to President Biden as a dictator, a term that he has used multiple times in the past. Burgum's statements reflected his deep dissatisfaction with Biden's policies on immigration and student loans. He argued that Biden bypasses Congress to push his ideological views, which significantly impacts states like his. Take a listen to this, the host began, playing a clip of Burgum's previous comments. To talk about being a dictatorship, this is what's happening under Biden. Under Joe Biden, we're actually living under a dictatorship today. If you want to find out what it's like to live in a dictatorship, we're living in one now. So we know what it's like under a dictatorship, and that dictatorship right now is Joe Biden. Burgum's main argument was that Biden has bypassed Congress to implement numerous rules and mandates. He claimed that, as a governor of a state rich in natural resources, his state is facing over 30 rules and mandates, each ranging from 800 to 400 pages long. According to Burgum, none of these have come from Congress, and they could potentially kill industries vital to his state, including those essential for the arms race with China, which is building baseline electricity plants at a rapid pace. I understand you don't like President Biden's policies on immigration or student loans, the host interjected, but respectfully, you're calling a democratically elected president a dictator, Burgum continued. Well, we've got 3 branches of government, and this president, more than any other, has bypassed Congress. As a governor of a natural resources state, we're facing over 30 rules and mandates. Each one of those could be 800 pages to 1,400 pages long. None of them have come from Congress, and all of them could literally kill the industries that we have in our state, including baseline electricity, which we need to be competitive in the arms race around AI with China, who's building baseline electricity plants like 2 a month. So that's happening without Congress. And then, of course, on the student loan thing, when the Supreme Court ruled against him, he just said, hey, we'll figure a different way to do it. So I think there's a double standard here. He is bypassing the other 2 branches of government to push an ideological view, whether it's on economics or whether it's on climate extremism. He's doing that without using the other branches. The host then presented a fact check that debunked Burgum's claims. I counted Trump signed 220 executive orders when he was in office. President Biden so far has only signed 139 in the same time span. And on executive action on immigration, it was Speaker Mike Johnson who was calling on President Biden to take executive action, saying it wasn't Congress's responsibility, it was his. The fact check revealed that Trump had signed significantly more executive orders than Biden, undermining Burgum's argument that Biden's use of executive orders was unprecedented. Additionally, the fact check pointed out that Speaker Mike Johnson had previously called on Biden to take executive action on immigration, which contradicted Burgum's stance that executive actions were inappropriate. Burgum attempted to defend his position by emphasizing the impact of Biden's executive actions. I just think that there's a double standard here. He is bypassing the other 2 branches of government to push an ideological view. The stuff he's not doing on the border, which he could be doing with executive orders. I mean, the open borders and the inflation are things that he's doing by himself alone, ignoring the other branches of government. The host responded, you don't like his executive orders, and you don't like his policies. I understand that. But calling it a dictatorship? Burgum's defense was weakened by the fact check, which highlighted the significant number of executive orders signed by Trump compared to Biden. The discussion then turned to the broader implications of Burgum's accusations and the tactics used by some Republicans. The incident with Burgum is part of a broader strategy employed by some Republicans to project their own controversial behaviors onto Democrats, thereby creating confusion and manipulating public perception. This tactic involves making extreme claims about Democrats to distract from their own actions and undermine trust in political opponents. For instance, while Trump attempted to undermine the 2020 election, he accused Biden of doing the same. Republicans also accused Democrats of being extreme on abortion, even as they passed restrictive laws themselves. This projection aims to confuse the public and blur the lines between fact and fiction. The interview highlighted how Republicans, including Burgum, use misleading rhetoric to attack Democrats. This strategy involves making extreme claims to undermine trust in political opponents while avoiding substantial evidence to back their accusations. Burgum's statements on air exemplified this tactic, as he struggled to substantiate his claims against Biden. For example, Trump and Republicans have accused Democrats of wanting to defund the police, despite evidence showing that many Democrats support police reform rather than defunding. Similarly, Republicans have attacked Democrats on issues like health care and the economy, projecting their own controversial policies onto their opponents. The host also played clips of Trump making statements that contradicted Burgum's accusations against Biden. "We love this guy," Trump said in one clip. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, don't know, other than day one." Another clip showed Trump saying, "Here we are. They've been doing this for 7 years, and we won. Excuse me, we won twice, and now we're going to win a third time, to win a third time." A third clip featured Trump suggesting the termination of the Constitution due to alleged election fraud. So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception, and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. These clips of Trump directly contradicted Burgum's argument that Biden is a dictator. Trump's own statements about wanting to terminate the Constitution and suggesting he might be a dictator on day one painted a picture of someone more aligned with dictatorial tendencies than Biden. The host asked Burgum to consider these statements when making accusations about dictatorship. So someone should ask Doug Burgum, when it comes to a dictator, is it the guy who called for the termination of the U.S. Constitution? The guy who suggests that he'll run for a third term as president? The guy who quite literally said that he will be a dictator? Or is it the guy who said none of those things? Please take all the time you need with that one. The reason Burgum and other Republicans use such projection tactics is simple. It serves as a way to deflect criticism and undermine their opponents. By projecting their own controversial behaviors onto Democrats, they attempt to create a false equivalence that confuses the public. For example, Trump and Republicans have been known to ban abortions and restrict reproductive rights, yet they accuse Democrats of being extreme on abortion. Similarly, while Republicans have tried to dismantle programs like Medicare and Social Security, they claim that Democrats are the ones threatening these benefits. This projection tactic is designed to blur the lines between fact and fiction, making it difficult for the public to discern the truth. By accusing Democrats of actions and behaviors that they themselves are guilty of, Republicans aim to cancel out the impact of their own controversial policies and statements. Burgum's role in this broader strategy is clear. As a Trump ally and potential vice presidential candidate, he serves as a dutiful foot soldier in the Republican Party's efforts to manipulate public perception. Despite his seemingly moderate appearance, Burgum's statements reveal the same extremism that characterizes many of his colleagues. The interview underscored the importance of scrutinizing the rhetoric and actions of political figures, especially when they make extreme claims. Burgum's accusations against Biden were not backed by substantial evidence, and the fact check revealed the inconsistencies in his argument. The incident with Doug Burgum illustrates the broader strategy employed by some Republicans to project their own controversial behaviors onto Democrats. This tactic creates confusion and undermines trust in political opponents, blurring the lines between fact and fiction. Burgum's statements about President Biden were debunked by a fact check, revealing the projection and misdirection at play. As the political landscape continues to evolve, it is crucial for the public to remain vigilant and critical of extreme claims made by political figures. By understanding the tactics used by politicians to manipulate public perception, we can better navigate the complexities of contemporary political discourse and hold our leaders accountable for their actions.